As soon as the hobo encampments began popping up on university campuses all over the country, it was only natural to wonder how long these students could hold out before something else grabbed their attention. College kids aren't known for their commitment to anything necessarily, especially right before the beginning of summer vacation. And it was never clear exactly how stinking up a few random quads and holding out for humanitarian aid in the form of a Chipotle burrito bowl was ever going to affect what's happening in the Middle East anyway. Of course, the whole operation, as I've outlined previously, was never even about Gaza or Israel in any way. Instead, it's about repackaging anti-white hatred into yet another astroturfed national campaign of riots and civil disorder just in time for a presidential election. So, at some point, it stood to reason these kids would stop pretending to care about the war in Gaza altogether. They would drop the act and move on to something else. Well, over the weekend, as if on cue, that pivot took place. All at once on campuses and inside newsrooms all over the country, left-wing outrage over the Middle East subsided. And it was replaced with abject horror concerning a new, supposedly far greater crime against humanity. This act of pure, unadulterated evil took place, if you can believe it, on the campus of the University of Mississippi. And it was all recorded on video. Now, if there are children in the room right now, avert their eyes or even turn off this podcast because it's too much for them to see. If you have a sensitive stomach, turn away now. This is footage of the atrocity that was caught live on camera. Brace yourself.
What's that?
Okay, now, if you're anything like me, you probably missed the part of that footage that you're supposed to be angry about. In fact, you're probably watching like a Where's Waldo. You're watching it. You're trying to spot where's the offensive thing. It's kind of hard to see. For such a supposedly earth-shattering event, it's kind of tough to spot. Instead, what you see, or what you think you see, is a bunch of frat bros who probably aren't even that political. They're probably just tired of the narcissistic and highly fragrant leftists who have been defiling their campus. They're pro-America more than anything else. The American flag overalls are pretty big clue there. Beyond those overalls, which are fantastic, by the way, what's the big deal, you might ask? Well, leave it to the crack reporting team of the Mississippi Free Press to explain why exactly we should be outraged. As one of the paper's reporters put it, quote, "A white Ole Miss frat boy dances like a monkey and makes monkey noises near a black woman who was protesting for Palestine." Okay, so if you go back and you look at the tape and you focus entirely on the right-hand side of your screen, you'll see about 2 seconds of a student jumping up and down while flailing his arms and making a face. And we're supposed to conclude this student was dancing like a monkey and therefore was also insinuating that black people are like monkeys. And in turn, we're supposed to be extremely outraged by all this. Now, there are a lot of logical leaps here, which I'll get to in a second. The path from, normal to outrage, if you want to get from one to the other, requires you to jump across like 5 different widely spaced lily pads. But first, it's important to understand that this was the unanimous reaction from the left. Even as a supposed genocide, quote unquote, is going on in the Middle East, this is what they decided to hyperventilate over. Jamil Hill got the lynch mob started. She wrote, quote, "What fraternity does he represent? The fraternity's national leadership needs to be contacted immediately, and that frat should be barred from campus." She wants the whole frat barred from campus, not just that one guy. CNN, NPR, Newsweek, the Associated Press, pretty much every other outlet published similar pieces with a similar tone about this supposedly racist confrontation. A former DNC field worker named Adam Parkomenko wrote that this incident is yet more proof that America is, quote, "a racist country." The NAACP chapter at Ole Miss bemoaned the, quote, "abhorrent but also entirely unacceptable and, quote, deeply disheartening behavior in the footage." The Guardian reported that some said that Mississippi's governor reminded them of a segregationist, quote unquote, because he put out a tweet praising the students in that video. So just to review that, he tweeted out that clip, probably didn't even notice the supposed monkey sounds, like I didn't, like a lot of people didn't the first time, and he said something positive about the students generally, and so therefore he is a segregationist. Like I said, there's a lot of logical leaps going on here. The Daily Beast called the clip gross. Left-wing lobbyist Nina Turner wrote, quote, "This is a video showing anti-blackness." And Turner also scolded Congressman Mike Collins, who had praised the students in the video, quote, "Representative, that is a white man making monkey gestures at a black woman. And these protesters are not terrorists. Don't play games. Check yourself." Now, to be clear, it's not just commentators on the left who are saying things like this. Some conservative pundits joined in as well. Rob Smith, for example, wrote, "The Ole Miss incident was incredibly racist. I don't care what influencers say or post. I care what elected officials do. Representative Mike Collins is an absolute clown for posting what he posted. I said what I said. Cry more." I like when someone who's crying says to other people, "Cry more." Like, dude, you're the one crying over that video that is as innocuous as it gets. Former RNC chairman Michael Steele agreed, quote, "Representative Mike Collins, this is not taking care of business. And if you think it is, exactly what is the business you're referring to? Your casual approval of racist behavior and the need you seemingly feel to brag about it is an abject failure of your leadership as a member of the United States Congress and not a proud moment for you or Ole Miss." So this is, in short, yet another moment where several commentators on the right have joined in with the outraged mob on the left, which is something that never happens the other way around, of course. And in response to this outrage from all sides, the students' fraternity, Phi Delta Theta, has kicked him out. So they have already succumbed to the pressure. It happened pretty much immediately. Ole Miss has opened a student conduct investigation, which sounds ominous. And instead of everybody just ignoring this episode and moving on, because there's about 10 million more important things happening in the country right now, it's following the standard cancellation template from 2020. The student's has been doxxed online, his picture's all over the place, he's being threatened, organizations are cutting ties. You know the drill. The other familiar part of this story is that, once again, the mob is claiming that out-of-context video footage tells us everything we need to know about the particular incident. But as a basic factual matter, it's not even clear to me that this student was making monkey noises in the first place. Again, he's featured in the video for something like 1.2 seconds. I never noticed the quote-unquote monkey noises until everyone else pointed it out. And without that prompting, I'm not sure I ever would have interpreted it that way to begin with. And more to the point, there's something funny and ironically racist about leftists always trying to connect monkey noises to black people. Like, it seems to me that if you see that and you think, well, he's making a monkey noise, he must be talking about a black person, then it seems like you're revealing something about yourself and your own perceptions, more so than about this kid. Whether you're feeling stressed or anxious or simply seeking a moment of peace and tranquility, the Hallow app has something for you. Hallow offers an incredible range of guided meditations and prayers that are designed to help you deepen your spirituality and strengthen your connection to God. With Hallow, you can embark on a journey of exploration, diving into different themes and types of prayers and meditations. From gratitude to forgiveness, each session offers a unique experience, sparking your curiosity and deepening your spiritual understanding. Choose different lengths of meditation to fit your schedule, whether you have a few minutes or an hour. With its user-friendly interface and hundreds of guided meditations, the Hallow app has quickly become a go-to resource for people seeking spiritual growth and healing. You can download the app for free at hallow.com/Matt Walsh, set prayer reminders, and track your progress along the way. Hallow is truly transformative and will help you connect with your faith on a deeper level. So what are you waiting for? Download the Hallow app today at hallow.com/Matt Walsh, hallow.com/Matt Walsh for an exclusive 3-month free trial of all 6,000 prayers and meditations. But this is a recurring theme, and you have to wonder why that is. They did the same thing in late 2022 when somebody allegedly made monkey noises at a girls' high school volleyball game in Texas. You might remember that incident because we talked about it on the show, but you probably don't remember it because the narrative was embarrassing for everybody involved, and the media immediately dropped it. So just to refresh your memory, here's the allegedly racist footage, which was uploaded by a mother in the stands. I want you to watch and listen and see if you can detect the monkey noises here. Listen. Okay, so now if you, with the prompting ahead of time that listen for the monkey noises, you could probably hear something that's like, okay, well, maybe, I guess that's it. You can hear someone shrieking in the background. But without that prompting, it's, I don't know where your mind has to be without that prompting at all to listen to a video like that. And number one, think, oh, that's someone's definitely doing monkey noises. And then number two, think, well, they must be targeting it at black people. Like, to get from not just one, but to make it to two, again, you're saying something about your own perceptions, it would seem to me. Now, you'll notice that no one in the stands or on the court reacted in any way to these allegedly racist monkey noises. In fact, not even the players who were supposedly being targeted by these chants reacted. You can see, like, everyone's just sitting there. No one's even looking over to see what's going on. It was only after this woman got home and uploaded the footage saying that she heard a racist monkey chant that some sort of investigation was launched by the school district. Well, the story fizzled out, though, because if you listen to the footage, it's not remotely clear what the woman's really talking about, or you know, what noises are being made, or who they're being targeted at. People do all kinds of chants at sporting events. They make all kinds of noises for all kinds of different reasons. So, for all we know, that's what's happening at Ole Miss. Maybe this frat kid saw a large, irate woman intentionally antagonizing him and all of his friends, and maybe he decided to jump up and down to yell and mock her, not because she's black, but because she's being annoying, and she's antagonizing them. It's even possible that he had no animus towards this woman whatsoever. After all, during the same interaction, the frat bros also referred to this large black protester as a Lizzo. And, you know, we're being told that that was also a racist comment, but that's interesting to me because previously we have been told, you know, relentlessly, in fact, that Lizzo is the paragon of female beauty. All women should aspire to look and act like Lizzo. So really, they were complimenting her, weren't they? I mean, if you think she's a beautiful woman, this is a compliment. So maybe in this instance, imitation is the most sincere form of flattery. Who knows? But here's the important point. Even if the student did what they accused him of doing, even if he was imitating this Lizzo lookalike in a disparaging way, then at worst, he's guilty of making an inappropriate joke. Now, you can call it racist or bigoted if you want, if it makes you feel more oppressed and that makes you feel good, that's fine. Doesn't really matter. Whatever you call it, this is not the sort of thing that a kid should have his life destroyed over. There are much worse sins than engaging in a mocking dance for 2 seconds, no matter how bigoted, quote unquote, that dance might allegedly be. And the response to this student should reflect that. In fact, at a public university like Ole Miss, it's also not clear that the school has any right to punish him at all. The First Amendment allows students at public universities to exercise their right to freedom of speech, which includes speech that many people find bigoted or offensive. Now, and also, by the way, if you've been listening to the show for the last 2 weeks, you know that I have made that exact same argument about free speech applying to even speech that we find abhorrent. I have made that exact same argument to the pro-Palestine protesters, in their favor as well. Now, there's been a lot, because there's actually been a lot of that kind of speech on college campuses in the last few weeks, if you haven't noticed. And most of it's coming from the other side. And there's no argument that this Ole Miss incident is somehow uniquely offensive and horrible, because pretty much every day college kids are caught on camera doing and saying things far worse than this, especially during these protests. And again, especially coming from the other side of the protests. The pro-Palestine protesters have said plenty of vile things. One activist held up a sign at Columbia saying Jewish students should be Hamas's next target, quote unquote. Somebody just yelled, "Kill the Jews" at a rally at Northeastern University the other day. Now, it's not clear who exactly said that, but you'd think that there'd be some proportional amount of interest in answering that question, but there isn't really. And of course, there's systematic anti-white and anti-Asian bias at all of these schools in both admissions and hiring all the time. And that impacts a lot more lives than whatever this frat boy was doing for 2 seconds. So if we're going to destroy this one kid's life over this 2-second whatever he was doing, then we should, well, I guess, also expel all these protesters. And fire every administrator in every one of these schools. And until we do that, then no one should even pretend to care about this one Ole Miss frat boy being bigoted or whatever. It's so disingenuous that it's actually nauseating. And this is a point that goes without saying, but, I'll say it anyway. If this was a black student making racist statements and gestures at a white frat boy, none of these people would give a damn. The outrage mob would either ignore it or outright defend it. And we have heard, and by the way, we have heard anti-white statements coming from the pro-Palestine protesters. There was someone on camera at one of these protests saying, we don't like white people here. We hate white people here, something like that, pretty explicitly. But you hardly remember it because there's no conversation about it. Nobody cares. And even more, we know this is the case because, the outrage mob doesn't give a damn when white people are beaten to a pulp on camera. I mean, forget about mean things being said about them. For example, here's a story that precisely nobody on the left cares about. Remember the black guy in Brooklyn who sucker punched a 57-year-old white woman in the face, breaking her jaw? We talked about that. Well, he's a habitual offender who's done this several times. Here's that footage.
Tonight, an Eyewitness News exclusive, and yet another unprovoked violent attack in New York City, this time in Brooklyn. A vicious sucker punch out of nowhere yesterday to the face of a woman as she was just walking down the street in Crown Heights. Tonight, she's talking through her injuries to Eyewitness News reporter Sefon Kim.
It is a random, unprovoked, vicious attack on a 57-year-old woman in Brooklyn. Watch as the suspect ignores another man walking nearby, then punches the woman in her face, causing her to stumble backwards.
What happened? Why you hitting me? Why you hitting me? I was bleeding a lot. Well, I'm so scared, I'm so afraid.
Dulce Pichardo was on the receiving end of that punch. Her mouth now wired shut, her face fractured in several places, drinking food out of a straw for 6 weeks, permanent damage to her lower lip, 3 teeth knocked out, and she might need surgery. In this Eyewitness News exclusive, Pichardo says he didn't say a word, just stared at her, then broke her jaw.
He hit me very, very strong over here. And he broke everything here. Everything's break.
So it's another random, unprovoked attack. They just assume that none of these videos of black people punching white people can possibly be racially motivated. They're all just random. The frat kid's dance is immediately determined to be racist, but a black person going around punching white people is just acting randomly. Well, maybe the supposed monkey noises, if they were monkey noises, were also random. I mean, random things happen all the time, apparently. And anyway, that assault happened in March. What happened next? Well, in a rare move in New York, prosecutors upgraded this guy's charges to a felony. They also wanted to put him in jail before trial. But the judge overseeing this case, Brooklyn Supreme Court Justice Matthew Schiarino, rejected the prosecutor's bail request. So he's back out on the street right now. They put that guy back on the street where he can punch more people. And if you have a problem with that, you should know that the judge doesn't care. He just retired to Florida. That's not an exaggeration. The judge has left the state. So he released this guy and just left the state. He's fled the hellhole of New York, which he has helped to turn into a hellhole for a state that actually enforces the law. Now, I give about 1 million more examples of anti-white violence that's not simply tolerated, but endorsed by the most powerful institutions in this country. None of it gets a fraction of the attention of one white student doing a dance for 2 seconds at Ole Miss. But I don't need to go through all these examples because it's not 2020 anymore. There's no excuse for anyone on the right to fail to recognize what's going on here. When one side is allowed to commit racial violence with impunity, while the lynch mob assembles to punish the other side for mockery and jokes, it's a pretty good big clue that nobody really cares about the mockery and jokes. It's all a power play. And unless conservatives want a beat-for-beat replay of 2020, which is clearly what the left wants at this point, then it's well past time we stop pretending otherwise. Hey, YouTube, thanks for listening to the show. If you'd like access to my full show with no ads, you should go to dailywire.com and use promo code Walsh to get 2 months free on all annual plans. See you there.